Gorian Gathering Place podcast, sharing about the Gorian philosophy, the Gorian ethos, and the Gorian lifestyle. Now here is your host, Rocker.
Hi everyone, Rocker here. Today we want to talk about the aspect of free women. Now there's a lot of false teaching that's taking place online, especially places like FetLife and also in the old defunct Silk and Steel, that free women were considered to be equal to men. This is not the case. A lot of times you'll find places on Silk and Steel where you have free women that regularly attack the free men, verbally knocking them down, making shit up, basically tearing them apart, and they're able to get away with it. That's wrong teaching, and I'm going to back this up with several verses to be able to share with you what an actual free woman, the fact that she is not equal to a man. She does have a special status, but she's not equal to men, and she's not able, or should not be able, to tear a man down, to be able to verbally attack them, to be able to malign them, or to be able to think that she is equal to a free man. Renegades of Gor, page 79, it says, "Many free women regard themselves, without justification, as marvelous prizes. It can come as a great shock to them to suddenly realize that they, for all practical purposes, are worthless. This rejection has shaken her profoundly. Like many free women, she had probably regarded herself as inordinately attractive." Okay, so there's the first one. The fact that you have a lot of free women that they'll carry on the fact that they think they have this special status as being a pillow princess, or that they're able to get away with things that they shouldn't be. In Savages of Gor, page 196, it says, "An ignorant free woman is commonplace. An ignorant slave is an absurdity." And you'll have a lot of ignorant free women nowadays that basically, again, try to do in this teaching that being a free woman is being romantic, that they feel that they are better than a slave. And throughout the books, time and time and time again, is that we read that free women is that they are jealous of slaves. They are jealous of the dynamic and the relationship that a master has to his slave. They are jealous of the fact that, that slaves are able to embody and are able to embrace in freedom their slavery. The fact that the joy that they have in wanting to serve others. The fact that the joy that they have, that they know that they are pleasing to men. Free women, that drives them absolutely batshit. It just drives them crazy. The fact that when they see the dynamic and the dance that takes place between a master and a slave, it's something that they can't have. It's something that is foreign to them, and it's something that just basically they become jealous, envious. And you'll find time and time and time again throughout the books the fact that you'll have free women that will become bitter and that they will attack a female slave because of the slavery's position. It talks about in Mercenaries of Gor, page 346, "A female slave, yours in her servitude, is 10,000 times more interesting than a free woman can ever dream of being." Again, I've seen this numerous times, is the fact that men in general, Gorian men in general, have a tendency, if they have a choice between a free woman and a slave, 99% of the time they will always pick a slave. If a slave is surrendering to a master, if a slave is pleasing, if a slave exudes the embodiment of beauty and servitude and surrendership, is that a master will always pick a slave over a frigid free woman. Now there's a story that takes place is when some free women tried to rebel against men, and they tried to exert some authority over free men, and it didn't go too well for them. And what it is, this is found in Magicians of Gor, page 51. Listen very closely to the story that John Norman talks about. Once in there, several years ago, several free women, in their anger at slaves, and perhaps jealous at the pleasures of masters and slaves, entered a Paga tavern with clubs and axes, seeking to destroy it. This is, I believe, an example, though a very extreme one, of an unprecedented sort of psychological reaction, the attempt by disparagement or action motivated by envy, jealousy, resentment of such or such, to keep from others pleasures which one oneself is unable or unwilling to enjoy. In any event, as a historical note, the men of the tavern, being Gorean, and thus not being inhibited or confused by negativism or biological traditions, quickly disarmed the women. They then stripped them, bound their hands behind their back, put them on a neck rope, and by means of switches conducted them swiftly outside the tavern. The women were then, outside the tavern, on the bridge of 20 lanterns, forced to witness the burning of their garments. They were then permitted to leave, though still bound and in coffle. Gorean men do not surrender their birthright as males, their rightful dominance, their appropriate mastery. They do not choose to be dictated to by women. And again, that's Magicians of Gor 51. So here we have the story of some women that decided to go into a tavern because they knew that masters and slaves were in there doing what they do, and they decided to basically to try to claim some sort of authority by going in and trying to destroy the tavern. And the men basically said, no, not happening. And they end up basically rounding them up, taking them outside, stripping them naked, and burning their clothes, and setting an example of the fact that men do not choose to be dictated by women. Now we have another example in the city of Tharna. For years, the city of Tharna was run by women. But over time is that men finally had enough, and they took their rightful place back in the city of Tharna. And what it is that when the men actually came back to being men, and it took a while, is that the right, excuse me for a sec, is the fact that they returned to their ancient ways, and that the rights of submission were once again in practice, and that even young men at a very young age were taught the fact that mastery and that they had dominance over all women, whether free women or whether slaves. And this is something that's being lost nowadays, is that I remember a few years ago there was a lady by the name of Callie came into the Gorean gathering place, and she had been in several of the other groups on FetLife and was basically just attacking the men constantly, belittling them, tearing them down, telling them that they weren't real men, that they didn't have a spine, and all because they wouldn't do what she perceived was things that a man should be doing. And the men would take it. She came into the Gorean gathering place, and I put a stop to it fairly quick and let her know in the Gorean gathering place on FetLife that is not tolerated. There was another free woman, by the way, by the name of Nair, is that she was in the Gorean gathering place, and several times that she would go after several free men, tearing them down, making things up about them, verbally attacking them. And I warned her several times that does not take place here. Do it in another group, but I will not allow that to be able to take place in the Gorean gathering place. And after a while, she got pissed off and of being reprimanded, and got pissed off, and then basically leaving the group. Now she's regularly in another group, which is I call it the New Colosseum, or the Round Table, and she regularly attacks free men. And she's able to get away with it because the men there allow it to take place. The books speak completely opposite. A free woman is not equal to a man. A free woman should not be able to belittle, malign, attack a free man, period. The books speak very clearly on this. The books are very firm on this, is that she is out of her element, that she is overstepping her boundaries, and the fact that she thinks that she is equal to a man, which is not the case at all. I'll close by talking once again, and I'm going to just review the one verse, the one quote, and it's in Renegades of Gor, page 79. Many free women regard themselves without justification as marvelous prizes. It will come a great shock to them to suddenly realize that they, for all practical purposes, are worthless. This rejection has shaken her profoundly. Like many free women, she probably regarded herself as inordinately attractive. The false teaching needs to stop. Free women are able to have command, and they do have authority over slaves, both male and female, but they do not, in any circumstance, are not considered to be equal or have authority over free men. Period. That's what the books talk about. That's what the books share repeatedly, over and over and over again. And that's what here in the Gorian Gathering Place, that's what we teach, that's what we share, and that's basically what needs to happen. The days of free women running rampant, to be able to just run helter-skelter, tearing men down, attacking men, belittling them, goes against the order of nature. It goes against what the books share, what the books teach, and the whole aspect of what Gorian is. Gor is a man's world. Gor is set on the patriarchic system. Free women need to know what their place is, and all the maligning, belittling, attacking of free men needs to stop. Thank you for listening.